Okay, rulers, settle down. Ruler School is brought to you by Odyssey Games, where you can go to get singles for all your Force of Will and other trading card games, as well as these amazing patrons. Special thanks to guest lecturer member Vite Ramen. Thank you for your support. Class is in session. Hey there, rulers! Welcome back after a very long week of Force of Will, including a GP weekend, to the office hours. We've come to help you with all your questions and concerns here on your favorite live Force of Will podcast, featuring today, so far, just me. Unfortunately, Brandon couldn't make it, Mike also couldn't make it, and Paul will be late. But in the meantime, you have me, so I'm glad to be here, glad to be interacting with the chat. And talking about this experience from this past weekend, getting the experience of people who are watching the stream or playing in the stream, as well as talking about 10 new spoiler cards to talk about for Rebirth of Legend. So a lot of stuff to get into. Do want to do a few pieces of housekeeping as we get started, just in case you haven't seen. We're currently working on this little Lumia emote, and right now, after the wonderful stream this past weekend, we are at 94 out of 100 for Lumia. The Lumia emote, we need 6 more members to be able to unlock it. So if you watch the channel and you consider subscribing, joining as a member to get access to all kinds of perks if you aren't already, and help us get that next emote unlocked, it is most appreciated. Now, we are also talking about S2.5 today, and if you haven't pre-ordered your set, you can still do that at Odyssey Games. You can click the link down below. They have pre-orders on both boxes of S2.5 and S3, including, I believe, still some pre-release kits for S3. Woof, that's a lot of stuff to go through too. But first off, before we talk about Lumia, we'll leave her up on the screen so that potentially Paul joins us before we get to that. I do want to talk about this past weekend's stream. It was a GP, first one held via Discord in the United States. We had players from the US and Canada participating. There were 73 players piloting a multitude of different decks. A very high percentage of those being dual ruler decks, which wasn't unexpected with the power that they can make use of from Alice Origins. The finals was taken by Derek Muguneza of the Rogues Guild team. They just actually finished wrapping up a little discussion over on their Twitch about that, so we're not going to get into that, but he was playing a Mylist Thievesing kind of Mirage combo deck, which ended up being able to overtake the 7 different decks that were playing some form of Almerius with Final Stance in the top 8. Just going to show that Final Stance maybe was not the best deck of the format. It can be beaten. That being said, overall we got to see some good variety. It was a good test for us to be able to try doing a much longer form stream from here in the office. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys did, let us know some of the things that you enjoyed about it, or if you were a player, let us know. To me, this event was, how do I put this? It was a great example of Force of Will's community, like what it means to be in the community, and just that, like, how rewarding and chill it can be. Tommy Rourke just wrote a really wonderful article about this on Foul Library, which talked about how there's this great connection between the players, and it's less about the competition and more about the people. And then when you combine that with a Discord event, like, if you lose, what have you really lost? You lost a day, but not even that. You lost like a couple hours, and you can drop and go make some pizza rolls in your kitchen. So I'd be interested to see what the chat thinks, both as watchers or participators, of what that experience was like for you, to watch it or play in it, how it was different, maybe something that you thought maybe this is something we do again in the future. I know there's 2 more GPs, but outside of those GPs, would this be something that you would be wanting to maybe do on a more consistent basis? Maybe even after we can have in-person GPs, like in-person digital, that kind of thing. That's certainly something that I think the company might be willing to do, if there's the feedback for it. We do have 2 more GPs in June and July, both digital, so be on the lookout for that, and certainly sign up. Those will also be run by Games and Geek, and you will get these wonderful promos. Ours came in today, and they are textured, except for Athena, and they are gorgeous. So, can't really see because of the glare, but there's the Mikage Rhea. Maribella, looking great. Lenneth. Shakti, everybody's favorite red-eyed lady. The true everyone's favorite, which is Sylvia, which looks really great. Although my, again, personal favorite part about that card is Gil Lapis down here in the corner being an angsty boy. And then an Athena, which also looks really great. Yeah, I think to me, the thing about the format is that what we saw about the format in a tournament setting, I think, is held true to what we kind of were talking about on Ruler School a lot. Is that there's a lot of burst potential in this meta. There are a lot of decks that can just pop off on turn 2, but those decks don't necessarily do that consistently, and there are things that can deflect them. So when they have to go through a whole day of trying to pop off on turn 2, they're not necessarily going to do that. And when you have decks that are very interaction heavy, very skill oriented, the better deck will win out in the end over the course of the day. So, there was that. Like the consistency of results throughout the day will go towards more decks that are consistent at any stage of the game rather than decks that are trying to win in the burst at the beginning. Which is kind of what we've talked about when you try to apply like what an actual meta is, not just what games are, and there's a difference there. So like Wolfgang, Mylist, Moodstart, while they do have a lot of potential bursts to like finish the games quickly, there are techs against them that will make them stumble throughout a full day of playing, which will typically gatekeeper them. The problem being that those decks then typically serve as gatekeepers for the decks that could beat out. It's like a little bit of a triangle. So if you look at like the Ouroboros deck, we watched it get beat by Mylist Moodstart. Like we watched it get 2-0'd by Mylist Moodstart. And then Mylist Moodstart fell to all their Almerius decks, and then the Almerius decks fell to the Mirage deck. So that is indicative of, again, when you apply that kind of triangle over the span of a full day, then meta is healthier than it seems, rather than looking at niche, like just specific one game experiences. And to me, that there's like 3 lessons that I take out of this tournament. One, is that the game, while at glance can seem faster, in actual high-level play is grindier and slower. So there's that. 2, it feels faster because, I guess, and the subpoint of that is, to me, it feels faster because mistakes in the opening turns or stumbling in the opening turns can have a much bigger impact than it has in the past. Yeah, you're right, Rustin. We absolutely could probably do a highlight reel. It's a lot of editing that I don't want to have to do. It's 10 and a half, 15, almost 15 hours of footage to find like the biggest plays. I fully give permission to someone to make a supercut though. If you want to go through the VOD footage and make a supercut, you have my permission to do that. We would be interested in maybe putting it up on this channel, and maybe we give you credit for it because it is our footage. But ultimately, message me about it if you want to make a supercut, because I'm about that life. Yeah, and control decks can certainly make for very long games. At 2, when I look at what was happening over the course of the day, the decks that made it into the top 8, the power of those cards, like the way that those decks were winning games, those dual 6-age decks were winning games, was the Alice Origin cards that they have access to, and we talked about this during the stream. In our Foul Wednesdays, we've been focusing a lot more on what Saga Cluster in and of itself looks like, what Saga Cluster play looks like, with a few notable exceptions, because I like my dual stones and I don't want to get rid of them yet, although I completely understand. But if you look at the dual ruler decks, the way they were winning games was Alice Origin cards. They weren't really making use of Magic Stone War or Saga Cluster cards to push lethal. And then, so that makes me think, okay, well, then let's think about what cards those rulers would lose access to and be having to force to be used if they were playing in Saga Cluster, or like whatever the next New Frontiers is. And so that to me is one of those things where shows me health. Like, one, it was a much healthier meta and a much more interesting and skill-based meta than we've had before, rather than just nothing but Herder combo Rezard. But two, it made me think a lot about what New Frontiers moving forward might be like when we've seen 2 sets of set design and now potentially a third as we move into these cards. That if this is the set design we're kind of moving towards, and moving back into, I should say, then it gives me great hope and gets me really excited for the future of New Frontiers, because deck construction, some of this like burst potential deck construction is going to get limited as well, and it's not going to just be 2 rulers you win. When you look at Saga Cluster, Saga Cluster 1 rulers have support packages that are very individualized. Like they're tied to a mechanic. Their packages aren't big enough that you can't splash cards. Like obviously there's a package, but then you can fill out the rest of the deck with supports and tech choices and everything else. Like their support suites don't take up a full deck. The Magic Stone War, the Magic Stone War rulers, the dual rulers, they aren't necessarily tied to a gimmick, a mechanic, outside of the fact that their mechanic is start the game with 2 generic effects. And to that end, their whole deck is open, because they're not really necessarily building the deck to a package. They're building the deck to good stuff. And then just having their first turn kind of be where the ruler brings things into consideration. So then when you have, and I think that if you look at Magic Stone War as a set, it's reflective of that. Like it's designed to be like, okay, the dual rulers are the activate abilities, are the awakenings, right? Like it's tied to that kind of thing. Like, oh, I'm spending my ruler to do something and use the other one. But Paul's supposed to be here soon. Paul's running a little bit late, but I think this is a good can open my mind and you can hear all my thoughts. When you look at Magic Stone War, it's like the gimmick is spending your rulers and using your rulers differently. That's the whole idea of the twin rulers. The problem with that is because of their openness, they can just go back to the next previous cluster and use all these very generic open cards for a full deck's worth of openness, which puts them in a position better than these other rulers. Like the only ruler who could really use Rhea was, I mean, obviously Mikage would use Rhea because it's in black, but that's a bad idea. But Mikage rip. But Welser would use Mikage for Griffin ramp, right? But he was really the only one of the S1 rulers to use that. Like no one else could really use Rhea. Pierre wasn't really anything for anybody. but he's a really good card just by himself. He just wasn't naturally building towards the idea of any of these other rulers in Saga 1, which are significantly more niche, with their own customization options. So it makes sense to me that people gravitated towards the dual rulers when Alice Origins is still in play. Like, Culver, trying to ask around in the FOW community and find out if people would find value in an Edrec or tapped out style site for FOW. I'm a dev and considered putting it together. I don't know what those websites are like, Culver. Can you explain a little bit more in the chat? I'd love to ask to be able to give you my insight as a person who's been playing FOW for 6 years and doing content for 6 years. Yeah, similar kind of thing is like Lilius was kind of seemingly to be so dominant in the first set because, like you said, she could just make use of all this burn that was present in Alice Origins that no one else could use. That's true. That's 100% true. So when you apply, this is why I'm excited for these cards, these spoilers, and the designs approach that we're seeing. The design approach of Saga 1, the design approach of Magic, Saga 2, a gacha log. Okay, yeah, that'd be great. Deck building sites are wonderful. When you look at the design approach, if that approach continues into set 3, into set 4, into next cluster, it will very much be more variety, more like the twin rulers won't just dominate everything because they won't be able to use the niche. They won't be able to use the engines of other rulers necessarily better than that singleton ruler just because they're a dual ruler. That's a really complicated sentence. Let me try to say that again. Yeah, Culver, that sounds great to be able to check card popularity and like what's being played. That'd be awesome. So like a Mobilytics almost, or Mobilytics. The dual rulers, while generic enough to attempt to make use of another ruler's dedicated package, when Alice Origins rotates, they most likely won't be able to use those specific packages better than who those packages are made for. Oh, I think I got there. So, like, I thoroughly expect the dual rulers to still be around and still very viable, because I think that if Saga Cluster, Matt Seymour, member on the channel, has talked about that his locals is like an 18-man locals playing Saga Cluster, and he talks about how there is a lot of diversity with what people are playing and having success with in both Saga 1 and Saga 2 rulers. And I want to see that consistency, like I want to see that consistency continue. And there is Paul Reisman. Hold on. No, Discord is making your audio go through a different spot. 1 second. Let's pull back the curtain. Voicing. Try now.
Now.
There we go. Hello, buddy. Hi.
Class is dismissed.
No, you just
Good
got.
night, everyone.
No, you just got here. You're not allowed
All
to
right,
leave.
see ya. All right.
No. Hey, wait a minute. We're just talking about how if we look at extrapolating from this weekend's results and deck lists and everything else, when looking at the cards that the dual rulers were using to win games and then you cross-reference that with what they might still be able to play, or what tools they would still have if Alice Origins was rotated. That it's clear with, if set design continues the way we've seen it, that when Alice Origins cluster rotates, it's not going to be just still more dual rulers. And the point here that Red Mage summed it up pretty well, because I said long sentences and that was bad. The six sages won't be able to use a specialized ruler's engine better than that specialized ruler just because it's two rulers.
Right.
And so the reason why the dual rulers are so successful right now is because Alice Origins is generic as heck. And so they're the only ones who can really make use of it to that extreme. Like we've said this before, what is Almerius reanimating in Saga Cluster? That's that crazy.
Gullwing.
Yeah, like
tier 0 Gullwing. And hi, Rustin, how are you? I am Princess of Rebirth. Thank you.
Hooray. Hey Rhea, how's it going, buddy? So yeah, we're just talking about how I really liked seeing what we saw, because it actually, as much as New Frontiers is still going to be a thing for a bit, it really gives me hope for New Frontiers moving forward. That the way they're designing sets in Saga Cluster, I think, is going to have a big impact in creating a much more generally diverse, for longer periods of time, meta potential.
Yeah, I think what's really capturing me about Saga Cluster in general is how things are contained. Where's my? It's right here. It's right here, Gray. Come on. It's even gray. Okay, that rhymed. What I'm really enjoying about Saga Cluster is how there's stuff that's very specific and it's very useful within its own like little silo of support, but there is a way for you to sort of transfer that card design and use it in other lists. Like my favorite card right now is Thunder Parasol, because it's a generically good blue card, but it's most broken in Celesta, but it's still a generically good blue card everywhere else. It's not super generic. It just gets better in a different kind of list. And I agree with Rhea, like Rhea in particular being super generic as a card. There are some more generic cards within Alice Origins. Initially, I didn't get that impression with Alice Origins, but I think as like set 3 and 4 came out, that stuff really became more apparent. I don't know if that's fair.
No, I think set 3 curse hit pretty hard in Alice Origins. Even outside of just res art, I think set 3 curse hit pretty bad. Like we printed like Alice Origins 1 and 2 were like, hey, these cards do these very specific things and they're probably good with these very specific rulers. And that was great because we lost we're going to be rotating DBV and everything's going to be great. And then they're like, hey, by the way, here's Rhea. She does 4 things. She's a 1-drop quick cast 4/4. Like, and she's just 1 black. No. Hey, Pierre, we back. Like, hey, Pierre, I'm a 1-drop 4/4 that does a bunch of things. No.
Yes, exactly. And you know, traditionally in Force of Will, like that third set is always that set that really ramps up the power. If the second set didn't do that, the third set like really like takes it, and sort of like the fourth set is that like icing on the cake. It just sort of brings everything home, with the exception of DBV, which I would say is the like.
Yeah, they took the cake and then put another cake on top of it. They were just like,
they're like, you get 2 cakes.
Hey, Derek, welcome to thanks for raiding our stream after the Rogues Guild stream. Congratulations again on your GP victory, my friend.
Good job.
So for me, you know, it's kind of like I want to see this next set. If the approach to this next set is similar in the vein to set 2 and set 1, then, and it doesn't set 3 curse us, right? Then I think we're in a really good shape just for like the future of what sets and metas are going to look like. Because just like, it feels like set design and game design itself has kind of reset itself back to the niche of what really just feels the best of Force of Will. Like, we tried going faster, we tried going more like generic, but now it feels like we're kind of back to the, hey, your ruler really kind of matters to the identity of the deck that you're playing, and that feels more like Force of Will.
Yeah, I think the idea of picking up the deck with the ruler and you know, having to be stretched on your creativity, you know, in deck building, having to be stretched to make that ruler do something different than what it was intended to do. Like the ruler sort of setting the trend of the deck
Yeah.
is something I really do enjoy. And that is something I really enjoyed at Force of Will. But like, I remember when we got that, like, we got SKL and we got the dual decks for Melkus and Faria when I was not quite playing quite yet, but you were like trying to get me into the game, and you handed me a Dracula list with Leviton, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I mean, Dracula, cool. I mean, Dracula. And then I just started doing things, and it was just a very different. It was still the same niche, but like cards were added into that strategy that changed him up and made him feel a little bit different. Instead of just this tribal ruler. So like as time goes on, we might see things like Gru's Ballista and whatever his support ruler would be changing in terms of how it plays based on what support we get in the next cluster.
Yeah,
that's really exciting to me.
Yeah, the twin rulers are such that, similarly to how Ragnarok is, every card is technically support for them, even if it's not direct, right? It's just a matter of like, how good do we make generic cards versus the power of cards that are very clearly designed for one ruler. And I think if you can find a healthy balance between those, then you keep things like the dual rulers in check, because you force them to have to, you know, compete against tools that they don't have access to themselves, right?
Right.
And so that's just an important balance. And I think if you look at Magic Stone War, like, so out again, to kind of wrap this point up before we talk about spoilers, you have 10 cards to get through. You know, if you look at taking Alice Origins out and you look at Saga 1 and you look at Saga 2, when you look at Saga 2, it has a very similar game style approach and design approach to Saga 1, because the identity of the twin rulers becomes spending rulers. Right? That's the theme of Saga 2, is like spending rulers in ways that you don't normally spend rulers. So then when you apply that concept and you try to take that same concept and go, okay, well, what in Saga 1 spends rulers? Nothing. Okay, well, what in Saga 3 spends rulers? We don't know yet, but I imagine if we keep to the same kind of design, nothing, right? So then again, so that's that balance of, you want the generic stuff to be good so that decks with little less identity can make use of them, but not so good that the specific stuff gets outclassed.
Right.
And so that's, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm noticing like the specific support. So like, I'll use Celesta for an example, because
sure.
I'm still on this Thunder Parasol example, right? So Kiki, Wise Dragon, like you could throw them in a blue deck if you really wanted to, but the core engine of that deck is to play Kiki, play your Wise Dragons, dump a bunch of treasures in your remove from play, and then flip Celesta, right? And for the most part, Kiki is not being used in a lot of other decks, which is something I think we were a little worried about, is like, oh my gosh, this is the new Cheshire Cat. It wasn't, it was just Kiki. Wise Dragon, as a good boss, is only usable in Celesta. But then when you get to the treasures, they're generic in the sense that they function as removal or draw support or life gain. Like, they're more supportive elements that do a lot more in Celesta than they would in other decks. But if you wanted to, say, play a Thunder Parasol in your Milas Mujdart list, perhaps you can,
right?
Because it's removal. It's not like the core mechanic of that deck.
Right.
Whereas Rhea this sets up this package, this engine, so to speak, for all the Yu-Gi-Oh fans out there. Like, it sets up an engine that you can slot into every other deck, which then becomes a problem. It's not support, it's not removal, it's not life gain, it's not drawing cards. It's just here's an engine that can do wacky stuff that it shouldn't be able to do.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's jump into some spoilers, shall we? First up, we got our white. We're gonna start with white. I apologize if you can't read the text, but I'll read it for you. We have light. We have Lumia, Rebirth of Saint of Rebirth, I think is what her name is. Princess of Rebirth. 1-drop white, quick cast, 2/5. That on enter, you gain life equal to life lost this turn in any way, whether loss of life, paying for life, or damage, etc. And it does say etc. So like it's not just those three things. It's just like e.g. And you draw a card. And then the spell side is for 1 black. You quick cast. You can remove a target resonator of total cost 2 or less from the game. And then if you awaken it, you can, which is paying 1 white, you can put in the resonator side. I would like to say, on behalf of this card, on behalf of Derek Muguneza, Derek's deck is now unplayable as soon as this card is printed. The deck literally doesn't have a win con outside of Ouroboros, and this deck tells Ouroboros to go to hell. Sorry, because the way that the CR works is that Force of Will views any change of life or setting of life up or down as loss of life or gaining of life. So if your life is $7,000 or $4,000 and you get set down to $2,000, you've lost 2,000 life. So then this card just goes, no, back up.
Oh. So I'm going to try and find all of these cards. You said there were 10 we were reviewing tonight?
Yeah, there's 10.
I've only seen 4. So this will be new.
Yeah, we get your first impressions. This card as a whole, it also is, as a black card, just removes Mirage because she's a 2-drop. So like again, this card is just rip that deck. I really like this card. Coming out in this. By the way, all of these cards are it is loss of life, Gary. Yeah, I clarified it. I will say that this card, to me, is a very nice card to be printed now in a format that will still have these, like, the God Hand. Like, we have so many decks, and we've dealt with it for a while, but we've had so many decks that have had, like, God Hand potential, and we've never really had a card outside of like spot removal or life gain, or like life gain to maybe give yourself a little bit of a buffer to stop God Hand decks. And so that's why I really like this card, because you and I come from Yu-Gi-Oh. We played Yu-Gi-Oh first, and God Hand formats suck. They're not fun to play in. They're not fun to play. They're not fun to play against. And so having a card like this that just says like, stop God Hands is, I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah, the whole breaking the board mentality doesn't exist in Force of Will, and this confirms it. Like, as a design philosophy, the whole breaking the board doesn't exist, which I really appreciate. This, I think, honestly, the top side here really limits burn. So any of you who are super concerned about a burn format lasting, in perpetuity, no problems. This isn't even in the main set, right? This is what
the mini set. Yeah,
this is the mini set. So like, very easy to get a hold of. It's a 1-drop answer to most burn. It simply existing is going to deter people from playing burn. So yeah, I think honestly, the long term is going to be, the bottom side is going to be a lot more relevant because it's a 2-drop
long term. Yeah,
really nice.
That RFGs, which is like hits
really,
things really like the Mirage. It hits things like Sigurd. It hits things like Suya, which you don't want to send to grave, so they get a discard spell. Like,
can kill Kiki.
Can RFG the Kiki. Like, there are so many things that having a way to RFG something in the early game can help a lot with some of these value cards that we've seen printed. So that really do good. Brandon Bremont told me over the weekend that he thinks the best text on this entire card is just the fact that it says draw a card. And I'm like, yeah. It's pretty good. You pay a white, pay a black, RFG a thing, recover your life that you lost this turn, put in a body, and draw a card.
I do like the draw card.
Yeah, seems good. They forgot to put Fairy Tale in our new Dark Alice. Yeah, I'm glad this is coming out in the mini set. And then I'm opening 10 boxes of this set so that I can have full foil play sets of this. When I say I did see some people, I'd be interested to hear your thoughts about this, Paul. Because I really think it only applies to this card that we talk about so far. We saw some people be like, see this card and go, power creep.
No.
When I see this, I don't see power creep. I see a utility card that we've never had before, which can feel like power creep because suddenly you're being given a tool that you've never had in the history of the game for 5 years. So when you're introducing something new, it can feel powerful. But sure, remove on a removal sense, it's a better removal card, but removal doesn't win games. And she a 2/5.
Yeah. If anything, this feels I honestly thought this should be a rare.
I disagree with you on that. Definitely a Marvel in my mind.
And not I feel like it should be a rare because in my head I'm either okay, I'm gonna flash in the body to get the life gain, or if it's early game, it's not very good. If it's early game and you're trying to remove something, it's better, but then I have to be in black and white. And if I want to get the full utility of the card, I have to pay 2. So it gets better progressively as the game goes on. I don't want to pay I don't want to play 4 of this personally, right off the bat.
It's certainly a sideboard card for sure. Multiple copies in the sideboard based on deck choice. Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, it's that's why it falls into the rare category for me.
Sure.
It's if I were gonna main deck this game 1, this doesn't feel like something I want 4 of because it's that good. It's kind of, honestly, in a little bit of a ways, it's kind of on the same power level as Wellser for me. Wellser's a little bit higher.
I can see that. Because this really doesn't do anything to this. Yeah, it's situational, and it doesn't do anything to actually steal tempo from your opponent. It's a recovery card. It's a cantrip, and it's that protection. You're in the chat. Redmage just saying it's not power creep. This is an answer to value power cards. And that's what I'm saying.
Anti-power creep.
Yeah. So that's that card.
Come on.
Dog.
You're gonna hear the pants of my dog.
I will point out that Jeff Finnegan in the chat right now saying this isn't power creep, it's just very flexible.
Yeah. And I totally agree with that, Jeff. Totally agree.
Flexible is its own form of power creep.
Yeah. It's more okay, it's a good removal spell. It can get you your life back, and if you want to play both modes, you get a card, which I think is it's fair. It doesn't feel broken.
Yeah, I agree. If it was a 1-drop 8/9 or something or even if this card was even a 1-drop 4/5 as opposed to a 1-drop 1-drop 2/5, then I'd be yeah, okay.
Okay. Quick cast 4/5 that can reset your life and kill something if you need it to.
But this thing ain't killing anything on its front side. It's a chump block at best.
Yeah, it's a very defensive card.
Yeah, exactly. Moving right along, I think it's just really important. I just think it's important for us to hit that topic because I saw it talked about in reference to it, and so that card for me is the most indicative of being able to have that conversation. So next up, we got Grim and Pandora, adorable couple. Two white, beautiful art. 2 white 6/6. If +1/+1 counters would be put on this card, put double that much instead. On enter this card, you may play activate abilities of rulers you control that can only be played once per turn, an additional time, up to twice instead. Let's not talk about modern stat lines. They have no defense. That's fair. So 6/6. So this card is obviously designed for Oborozuki, but has implications outside of Oborozuki. For instance, Celesta getting to explore twice is very nice.
Yeah. I'm glad you said that, because I was like, I want to play this in Oborozuki, but oh yeah, I could also do just to slot it in for that reason.
Yeah, like exploring twice in one turn seems pretty good. There's like good implications here. It doesn't. Welser can't use it at all. Ragnarok can't. Welser can't use it at all. Mikage can use it and then won't. It doesn't count for God Arts because that's a once per game ability, not a once per turn. I think mostly like this is a really, really good card for Oborozuki. One of the things that Oborozuki's always struggled with is early game production of 1/1s. Like if Oborozuki can get to enough, like you in trouble. Final battle at instant speed every turn is a problem. But like this card, I think is sorely needed for Obo to be able to be like, oh, I revealed a flute, 4 counters. I'd like to reveal that same flute again, please.
Thank you.
Great, 8 counters in one turn. Yeah. Feels good.
So that makes me think that, honestly, I would like a little bit more protection on here, but that might be asking a lot because in testing, they might have actually designed this, tested it with a Borozuki, and found like, oh no, like you need to be able to answer this card.
Well, I mean, let's take that.
I'm on either side of that right now.
Let's take my same example, right? We just paid 2. Yeah. Let's say our top card is Flute. Pay 2, play this, reveal Flute, gain 4, reveal Flute again, gain 4, take the second 4, put it onto this. It's actually 8. We just put a 2-drop 14/14 into the board and still have 4 counters on Oborozuki, plus we just put 8 counters onto the board. Like we're talking, that's a lot. That's a lot of +1/+1s very quickly.
Yeah. So as we're going through this is just me talking to the chat a little bit. This is where like when you look at cards at face value, like this seemed underwhelming to me. But as we start talking it out, it's like, oh yeah, ooh. A 2/2 Gwyber. Okay, I'll take that.
Yeah.
Like a 2-cost Gwyber, I can just throw down and play activate abilities twice per turn. If you don't kill it, that's gonna be bad for you.
Yeah, it seems good.
Yeah.
Well, remember, it only triggers the twice per turn on the turn that it enters, but still.
Oh, that's
still
right.
Good.
Only on the turn that enters. So
next up, because we have a lot of cards to get through. El Dorado. This is El Dorado Pearlshine. 4-cost 13/13 Panda. Panda support.
Where is this?
This got spoiled by the Spanish page, so okay. I just have it pulled up on screen. So 4-drop 13/13. On enter, you gain a gem of every color, and then he can banish gems to do stuff. So he can banish a light gem to destroy an addition, banish a fire gem to thunder something, banish a water gem to draw a card, banish a wind gem to produce a will of any attribute, and banish a darkness gem your opponent discards a card. This is very cute. Sets a potentially dangerous precedent to trying to do this kind of thing on other cards that aren't him. Because in New Frontiers, there's literally no way to produce gems other than himself. So let's take it at the face value of you play this guy, and then
glorious boy.
You play this guy, and then immediately like use all of his effects, right? Let's say we just immediately go. So we paid 4. The enter effect resolved, he didn't die. We get to pop an addition, so now we are even for card spent. We thundered something, potentially killing it, or thundered our face. We drew a card, so now we're up +1 on value. Maybe +2. Then we produced a will, so we made it a 3-cost, and then we discard a card, so we go +3. So this is a...
Come here.
This is a +3 on turn that it comes into play. If you don't kill it, it has 0 protection for itself. It's cute. I like it. It's a 4-cost, which seems to me to be a lot. but also like this card terrifies me in a Tankress Wanderer or Conqueror deck, because that deck is like, hey, yo, I've got 20 Darkness Gems. I heard you like never having a hand for the rest of the game. Like, draw for turn, discard that.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Well, I definitely enjoy the random panda support who's definitely not Napoleon. Definitely not.
Yeah. He's El Dorado. He's El Dorado. El Dorado.
Which is definitely more Spanish than you're right. So see, it's not Napoleon. It's too Spanish to be Napoleon. But yeah, I this is what I want, right? Like I want a set that gives you support for older decks in a way that makes sense for like, I need to buy this for New Frontiers, but if I happen to get these Wanderer support cards, cool. This is the perfect example of that.
Yeah, for sure.
I can see playing 4 Flute and just going into this like turn 3 and just being like, okay, oh, it's a panda. Drop the Panda Gwyber.
Panda Gwyber.
Panda Gwyber.
Do I have to get gem tokens for Paul now?
Yes. Yes.
Let's quickly go to our next card. This is Lars, the Sacred King. 2 cost, 5/10. That if damage would be dealt to you, it's dealt to this card instead. So he's gonna soak up 10 damage every turn, which is is nice. You can awaken him by resting a recovered J/ruler you control on enter to heal an astral ruler you control.
Hey, back.
Heals back! Yay!
Yay!
This is very interesting to me as a card because, one, it's that idea of like spending my rulers in a different way, right? Which I get. So it's a little bit of a 0 support or a little bit of a magic twin ruler support. But also like, this is also a card that singleton rulers can use to heal, because most of the time if your J ruler dies, it's probably recovered. So you killed my ruler before recovery, flash in, recover. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Hooray!
Well, and it's like a better Ryula, right? Because it has quick cast, and because it's so Ryula was double white 1, right?
Double white 1. Yep.
So this one's a little bit more splashable too. So that's what I really like about this.
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
Again, Wanderer support.
Jeff, opinions on 4-drops being 13/13 now with 5 upsides. To me, the upsides, like, while good, are kind of meh. If that makes sense. Going back to Pearl Shine, right? So, like, let's talk about this. Banish a light gem to pop an addition. We have so much addition hate in this format, it's not even funny. So like that's kind of like an incidental meh. I have way more efficient ways to pop your removal or pop your additions. So like making him a 3 cost. Okay, that's okay. But I had to spend 4 at first. So like okay, I guess I get 1 back, right? So I can make a follow-up play. So that's okay. The Thunder, like, Thunder doesn't kill much. And if I'm trying to hit your face, like, I was probably already winning the game before I played El Dorado, if that makes sense. So, like, that seems kind of meh. The draw a card is a cantrip, and we have so many cantrips in this game, or just, like, better cantrips that if you're trying to play it for card draw, like, great. And then the discard is his hands down his best effect, and you can only do it once. And we have cards like Suya. So, like, it's 5 mediocre effects tied to a 4-drop body, so it's great that you get 5 effects. But, like, none of them are insane.
Yeah, I can see it being better in Pandas.
Oh, yeah.
Than anywhere else. I mean, like, Welser just poops on this card, right? Talk about Welser being like, okay, I mean, this is a situation in which Welser would be really, really good, right?
Yeah.
So, like, just put this back in your hand. You don't get any of the effects, and your tempo is just stolen for the turn. So I don't even know if I'd play this card, maybe as like a 1 or a 2 of against Control, maybe, to get into like a little extra damage and draw some cards and like be able to grind a little bit. But for the most part, fun card. Demands you play Flute in the main board, and it demands you're playing Conqueror or Wanderer. So I don't know.
And the other thing to me with him real quick is just like he has to not only resolve his summon, he has to resolve his enter effect.
Mm-hmm.
So like, just kill him. It's fine.
Activate effect. Kill you.
Don't not even activate effect. Enter effect to gain gems, and you're dead. Great, you have 5 gems.
They do nothing.
You've done it.
They look pretty because they're from Tommy Rourke.
Yeah. For Lars, I honestly am super glad that we have heal back. Like, this has so many This has implications for almost every single format. Particularly Genesis, because Paul always kills my CL and it bothers the crap out of me. That's fair, Jeff. That's totally fair. That card in Pearl Shine decks terrifies me. Like, terrifies me. But outside of that, like, no. No. So I'm glad we have heal back. That's really good to have back. Our last card is Abel, the top 2 of the Light Palace, who so far has my favorite flavor text when paired with Kayn, but we'll get there. 1-drop 4/4 with Eternal, Awakening of Resting Kayn, and if you do, he has the enter effect of recover all J resonators you control. So, a little synergistic swing twice.
Yeah, well, I'm presuming Kayn is either going to be also white or he's going to be red.
He's red.
He's red. Okay, so we're into white and red.
Yeah, we're doing right. We have the 5 white cards and the 5 red cards.
So that feels like a weird combination to me.
A little.
Right now, I mean, red white seems a little lackluster right now. I'd naturally want to go with Almirius or Lenneth potentially, and none of this really wants to do that currently, but I'm also just gonna on my own. This little engine seems fun. He's eternal, so he's hard to get rid of. And then it's just hey, let's just recover everything, swing again. Whatever that Charge of the Sacred Queen from way back in Faria reminds me of this.
Yep. His most relevant text is the fact that he's a 1-drop with Eternal.
Yeah.
That's super, super good. Like, that's just a good early game, like, wall to have of, like, stab it.
And Rune Deck should get that Islandar summon, so you can bring him back.
He is a human. Yeah.
So there's that little bit of support. As far as right now, who knows? Maybe in the future.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Kayn, I got to talk about this guy's flavor text real quick. It says, no one has ever entered the Light Palace from the East Wall. And now we have Kayn, who very quickly, I will say, no one has ever entered the Light Palace from the West Wall either. It's just like, ugh.
Oh my god.
That's the flavor text for Kayn, and I love it. I love it so much.
Tommy is saying there's a Force of Will Discord where I can like find all these cards.
Are
they in our Discord, Jer?
They're in the Ruler School Discord on the spoiler tab. So Kayn is
go to the Ruler School Discord chat. It's in the description, and then you can see all this stuff.
Yeah. So 1-drop 4/4 with Swiftness that has the Awakening of Resting Abel, and if you do, you destroy all other J/resonators. So this is the awakening. This is the awakening that I'm certainly going to use more often.
That's way better. Okay, so now I want to play red white.
Yeah, because red white also has the pay 1, give all of your dudes eternal for the turn, which feels really nice when you can just like one-sided board wipe with Kayn.
Yeah.
We have a lot of ways to give eternal now, so like board wipes, as we saw this past weekend, would never end. Oh my gosh. Like, we certainly have ways to give instant speed eternal, so like board wipes are in a weird spot right now, but still good. Like, it's still good to have efficient board wipes. So I like this card. Good. I like this card a lot.
Okay, I changed my opinion on the last card.
Got it.
This is very good. Very solid.
Next up, we have Kirik's Training Ground, 1-cost red edition. Whenever a J/resonator enters the field under your control, force 1, add that many +1/+1 counters to it, where X is the result of the roll. Force is always a 6-sided die, by the way. Always is a 6-sided die.
Yeah, in case y'all want to do something funny.
Nah.
with your 40-sided dice.
I like this card a lot as not only aggression support for Lilius, not that she needed it, but also like just play this for Oberazuki. Like, okay, just
also, yeah, here we go.
Passive Oberazuki +1/+1 counters every turn.
Wait, did we just make a red-white Oberazuki?
I mean, I think we're building some red-white Oberazuki with some Claw the Dragonoid for some swiftness on Judgment. Like,
yeah.
I like it. Because here's the thing. Here's the cute thing. One, Oberazuki's in white, so we can heal her. And two, Kyric's Training Ground sees J rulers. So when you flip Oberazuki, you get even more +1/+1 counters.
Oh gosh, they give so much love to Oberazuki.
Yeah, she got some. She got a lot of love so far. Yeah, this is cool card. Next up, we have our Marvel. We're not talking necessarily as much about the red cards because they feel a little bit more straightforward than the white cards, so not as much to talk about as you would expect in red. Next up, we have Magna. The return of the foul marked dice. Yes. So Magna here, 2-drop that 2 double red 7 cost that can be played from the removed area. And he says your other resonators, J/resonators, gain 200 attack and 400 defense. So he buffs everybody else up while he's on board. His spell side is quick cast 1 red. Put a counter of any name on a ruler or entity you control. Remove this card from the game. Let's talk about things that we know that this card can name. Literally anything. You can name any kind of counter you want. There are some people who are trying to currently rule shark their way into saying, well, I'll put a flying counter on something and give it flying, or I'll give it a plus. I'll name the counter +400,000 / +600,000 to make my guy suddenly that much bigger. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. It seems like it might work that way in the CR because of some weird understanding. This has been a type of thing we've been able to do before. It doesn't work. It has been ruled that it doesn't work. I even talked to Chia today about it. It doesn't work.
Just put like directive counters on your like Deus Ex Machina, right? Or
directive
like a
counters
on your Maribel,
or a heart counter on a Maribel, or a divine bow counter on a Pierre, or like things like that.
Hey.
So it doesn't. This doesn't feel like a Marvel that supports the S1 rulers. That being said.
Feels weird.
It feels like this is indicative of something we're going to see in S3, maybe.
S3, S4. This seems like a longer term investment.
Yes.
It feels like one of those cards where it's like, oh, I have it. I didn't need it, but now there's a card where I absolutely need it, and it's a Marvel, and now it's expensive. So just pick it up when it's cheap.
Yeah, for sure. Because pick it up. Pick it up.
Besides, Gandalf and Santa Claus.
And also, like go wide decks, just play double. I mean, so the other thing here that's very weird is his typing is human and hero. And we haven't seen we've seen the 5 hero before, but not the hero. So I wonder if maybe there's something there, but we'll see. We'll have to see.
Feels like we've been wanting that for a while, so I'm glad we finally have a hero.
It can also put a strength counter on something. That's definitely something you can do.
Hey.
Speaking of crazy red cards, this is Shakti, the mercenary queen, who has my second favorite flavor text so far. 3 cost, 3 red, 10/10, with swiftness, precision, and first strike. Whenever a J/resonator dealt damage by this card is destroyed. Trigger, recover this card. So a 3-cost potential board wipe plus 10 damage in red. It's too bad we have good things that have more than 1,000 defense.
Yeah.
This card going in the cube though.
Oh, it's going in the cube for sure. I do like the swiftness, precision, first strike. and we do have big things. That's the only thing. This card might age better as we get into our next cluster.
Yeah,
cluster
for sure.
8, whatever that's going to be.
Yeah.
But I do love this and the flavor.
Yeah, the flavor text is, if you can't, if you aren't strong enough, or if you can't look her in the eye, you ain't good enough to be a part of her crew. I'm just like, we just put the word "ain't" on a card, and I'm about it.
Yeah.
It's just like the flavor text just feels so cheeky for this set, like as a whole, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm into it.
Yeah, I don't know who did this set, but pay that person more money. Like,
yeah,
top notch
flavor text.
It's like Kaijudo level flavor.
Yeah,
it's wonderful.
Our last card here is Sylvia Lilius, double red, 7/7. Swiftness, that on enter, but clearly it enters the field as an 11/11 to 16/16 because of the training grounds. That makes sense. So double red, 7/7 with swiftness. On enter, you put 2 strength counters on a ruler you can J/ruler you control. And then whenever this card deals damage to your opponent, you may discard a card and remove 2 strength counters to recover her and give her plus 200 attack until end of turn. I like her. This is a...
Yeah, I like the swiftness. I like the enter that gives your J-ruler more strength counters.
Yeah.
Solid.
I think that she's well designed in the fact that, like, it's not when she deals damage to, like, resonators. Like, it's only if she can manage to connect with face. Like, you gotta hit face.
This should go in the cube too.
This might, because of the fact that it naturally fuels itself one time, this is probably gonna find its way into the cube.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just need 4 cards in hand and 10 strength counters, and then to hope that your opponent doesn't have a single removal spell like the one that we spoiled earlier, or any blocker that can survive.
Someone that removes a 2-drop from the game.
Yeah, absolutely. This is what I'm talking about.
Immediately recovers all of the life you just took from them.
Yeah, to go back to the beginning of this discussion of, like, we have a card that literally answers God Hand style kind of stuff. Although this is a 1-card God Hand, but, like, stop it. The game is telling you that. I think the designers are telling you to stop it. So just saying. Just putting a flying counter on her, which won't give her flying, so it doesn't matter. Cool though, and the artwork is beautiful. Oh, Paul's dog, so sad.
Yeah,
the artwork on this card is absolutely beautiful.
I have opinions.
Yeah, sorry. Everything from the waist up and the Keurig and the Keurig in the background is very, very nice.
Yeah, let's just say her posture is great. She has really good form. She's gonna kick your face in.
So Jeff, modern base stat lines are actually moving back to what we've kind of seen traditionally. She is a little bit overstated from what they're trying to push back into with Saga Cluster. 1-drops are still sitting at about 3/3/4/4, or like some kind of around 4/4. So that's like naturally increased a little bit, but is coming kind of back down to that. Baseline for 2-drops is starting to hit back around the like 6/6, 7/7, significantly higher. It is a little bit weird that Lars is a 5/10 for a 2-drop. That's a stat line we haven't really seen recently, but kind of makes sense with him taking the damage, that he gets a little bit of a defense buff. But they are kind of going back to the world of like 2-drop 6/6s. 3-drops are typically sitting around like 9/9s, 10/10s ish. So like Saga Cluster, as opposed to Alice Origins Cluster, is certainly getting us back to stat lines that we're more used to, more in line with things like the Rhea Cluster era, which is nice. I like it. While still being a little bit higher than they were like back in the Grim days. So Grim is a 6/6. He's a 2-drop 6/6.
Yep.
That's a generic.
And will naturally just get bigger.
Naturally get bigger, yes, but 2-drop 6/6.
Yeah.
Magna's a little bit big, being a 2-drop 7/7, but it's in the color of aggression, which is red, so that kind of fits.
Mm-hmm. And really, I mean, the way the card is designed, the way you kind of want, it looks like you want it to be played is it's really a 3-drop.
Yeah. So 3-drop 7/7 that buffs other guys. Yeah. All in all, this is the mini set. We expect to see we'll probably know the entirety of the mini set by the end of this month between like the English spoilers and the Spanish spoilers, because Spain has been posting these in English, all 5 for each color every day. So I imagine we'll see water tomorrow. As a whole though,
best color.
Mini set has me hyped. It feels like, from what we've seen so far, it feels like we took a Vingolf, we cleared the fluff off of the Vingolf, and then we put it into 5-card packs in a 10-card box instead of a sealed kit. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would say everyone, if we're all being honest, Vingolf 3 was an amazing set. The last 10% was a really amazing set.
Yeah, again, fluff, right? It had some very impactful cards.
Like Shion.
It also
was very impactful.
No, she wasn't. It had a lot of really bad cards.
So many bad. And then reprint, like full art reprints, which was fine. Water Transformation Magic full art was cool, but then everything else was just.
Hunter in the Black Forest was a 3/3.
Mm-hmm.
Steven. So he was a 3/3 for 1 for swiftness. I know, because Abdul could exactly kill him. And then
there was a pick with Bloodlust that had it was like 705, something like that.
Yeah, the pig that could attack that had to attack every turn.
Yep. I don't remember it because I never played it.
There was a Piggy. I think Piggy wasn't Piggy a 5/7?
5/7.
Yeah, Piggy was a 5/7 for 2.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this set to me feels like a Vingolf with all of it feels like that 10% of good stuff from the Vingolf, but then repackaged into like mini packs in a 10-pack box, where we also reprinted Saga 1 rulers that the community has been hungry for.
Feels very much like I don't know if you all remember like the premium packs from Yu-Gi-Oh, where you got like there was like a 10-card pool, but like you had the option of like getting all of them, and it was pretty easy to get all of them. You could buy like 10 packs and get everything. It feels kind of like you could buy like 1, maybe 2 boxes and get full playsets of everything you need.
Yeah, so
this is exactly what I want.
So 1 box is 50 cards because it's pure cards. There's no token cards or anything. So 1 box is 50 cards. A full playset of this set is 100 cards. So if your pull rate is perfect, 2 boxes at 30 to 35, 40 bucks a box gets you a full playset. Or if you want even more luck, probably 3 boxes. So that would be 120 bucks. We'll have you get the full playset of everything.
Mm-hmm. Easy. What's the full arts?
With plus 3 rulers.
And 3 rulers.
So like, yeah, good stuff. I'm glad I'm opening 10 boxes, so I imagine I will probably have a full art playset of this entire set.
Oh my gosh. Except for 1 card. Except for 1. I want more of this Force of Will. Give us more of this stuff. And I love the retroactive Conqueror stuff. And yeah, there's definitely going to be some Conqueror on the channel, I hope, with these.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. What's the rarity of... So, we don't know yet. What the rarity of the Marvel rares in the mini boxes. We haven't cracked it open yet. It's certainly hope... I mean, we would hope that they'll be good. They got the set ratios practically perfect with set 2. So the hope is that they kind of take that consideration and can apply it well to the mini set. We'll be cracking boxes probably. Our sneak peek product usually gets here about 2 weeks before, about a week and a half before pre-release. So we'll know, but we can't tell you what it is. But it'll be good. It'll be the one that I want. That just means that I'm gonna trade for it.
Yeah.
Jeremy always gets the shiny things that he wants, as evidenced by the cube.
And then I get the shiny things I don't want, because then the playsets aren't perfect or pristine. There's like 1 full art and like 3 non.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Paul
God,
gets his
no.
OCD triggered. That is gonna. That is my thought is this, because we have rares, super rares, and Marvel rares in this set. I think it's going to be. There's two ways that we could do it. I think it's going to be 3 rares. There's way number 1, which I think makes the most sense. 3 rares, a Marvel or a super, and then a foil.
Mm-hmm.
That's way that I think is more likely. Or 2 rares, a super, a Marvel, and a foil in every pack. That feels insanely unlikely, because that means you get 10 Marvel rares per box, and there's only 5 of them. So I think it'll probably be 3 rares, a super or a Marvel, and then a foil in every pack.
Mm-hmm. What would your Marvel distribution be per box? What would
With
your
10 packs? 10 packs? Well, let's extrapolate that, right? So 36 packs is 36 packs. We got 4 Marvels per box, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we had a lot more cards to try to cover. I would expect us to see probably 3 to 4 Marvels per mini box in a mini set, because it's only 5 cards per pack.
Yeah, that feels good to me. Which means you're going to get your rares and your supers a little bit more easily.
Yeah.
And then the Marvels are
huntable. You want to hunt them.
Like, none of them feel like, oh, if I don't have this card, crap.
Yes, that's the other thing
Right.
too. Is like this set. I think this set hits the nail on the head. Particularly when we see it all, we go, I really can't afford both S3 and S2.5. I'm gonna commit to S3. I don't think you're gonna be like screwed.
Yeah.
Which I think is nice. So the mini set doesn't have any padding in it. It's literally just rares, supers, and Marvels. There's no tokens. There's no life point cards. Nothing. It's just the cards, according to every press release we've seen for it.
That being said, buy the set.
Yeah.
Like, tell the company, buy the set and tell them, like, this is a good product.
Yeah.
Like, this is really different. Like, this is not a Vengolf, and it's smaller.
It's different.
So, like, I guarantee the company's testing the waters to see if a smaller product will get traction here in the States. And I think it can. But this one has to succeed in order for them to see that.
I think if this product does well, we could see something like this take our like mini release every single cluster, and I'm about it. Like, I'm down for that for sure.
Yeah. Yearly Wanderer support, sure.
Yeah.
I'll take that.
So that being said, you can pre-order the set right now if you haven't already. There's a link down below for Odyssey Games to pre-order the links for Rebirth of Legend. Next week we'll be back to cover the rest of Rebirth of Legend, as well as any new cards that came out from Saga Cluster 3, Invasion of the Demonic World. It's going to be very, very exciting. Hopefully by next week we can hit that little member goal over there. You see Lumia, she wants to be
so close, you guys.
We only need 6 more members to be able to join the channel, to be able to unlock that emote. I'm very much looking forward to that. I don't know what Foul Wednesday is going to look like this week, because my cards are still with Brandon Fremont.
Back to Grim Cluster.
The deck that I really want to play is the updated version of his Feasting Almerius 6-age stances deck. But I can't play that. And also, he has my Mood Start, so I can't play Feasting Mood Start, and Paul doesn't own a Feasting. So
I can't play Feasting Mood Start. So you tell us, what do y'all want us to do for Foul Wednesday this week? Because I'm personally open.
Yeah, I am also very open. So who knows? Keep in mind, again, to those people who maybe are confused, when we say 6 new members, we're specifically talking about clicking that join button. Like Culver Polly, thank you so much. Joining us, getting us up to that 95. 5 more to go.
Yes.
Yeah, very much excited. We got 5 more to go. Let us know. We can do Conqueror stuff. We can do the Cube stuff. We can do live discussion stuff. We can play some untapped games with people. We're very, very open to anything. We can because like Paul has to come here on Wednesday regardless because we have a recording to do.
Yeah.
But and we did.
Settlers of Ataractia.
Yeah.
You know, I need Yggdrasil leaves. I'll give you 4 charred sheep from Velsavaria.
Okay. Well, at that note, let us know. Yeah, we certainly have Genesis built. We can do that. We did build Paul an Imul Genesis deck, which is pretty funny. And pretty fun. So that's another thing we can do as well. Just let us know in the comment sections down below. Thank you all so much for joining us. It has been a pleasure. Thank you for hanging out with me solo for the beginning, and then for Paul coming in later, hanging out with us. Tons of fun. And until next time, Paul, what time is it?
Class. Did you hear me? Class?
I said, yeah, we got you. Class.
Are you there?
Yeah, we're
Class.
here.
Oh, good. Welcome to the podcast. My name is Paul.
Class is dismissed. Have a good night, everybody.